Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I'm good.
Me
So
too.
I just totally have to thank you for something.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
there you go. You reminded me about the cleaner concentrate, right?
Yes.
For
Mhm.
stain removal. So
Yeah.
I was eating right before this meeting, like 20 minutes ago, and I spilled this, like, I was eating a enchilada. So I spilled that tomato sauce on my sheet, and I tried washing it out with soap and water. It did not come out. So I remembered what you said. I grabbed my
Yeah.
cleaner concentrate, and now my sheet has no stains. I'm so happy. This is
Yay.
organic cotton. These are not cheap. I do not like them stained. So I was so happy that it worked. So yeah,
See,
that's
I put that in a
great.
roller. I put that in a roller ball and sell it.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, people got to use
Worked
that
for
for.
me.
That's some really good stuff. I mean, yeah, the stain was fresh, but I tried taking it out with just soap and water, just regular soap and water, and it wasn't working. It needs that because it's greasy. The tomato stuff that's in the
Mm.
enchilada apparently is very greasy, and so it wasn't coming out.
Well, the best thing I found for blood is peroxide.
Peroxide for blood, yeah, that makes sense.
My
'Cause
neighbor, my
stain.
neighbor was a nurse, and she told me that, so I always use that. Because with the kids, they were always getting bloody and nosebleeds and such.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I was really shocked that it worked so well, and I saved my organic cotton sheet. So thank you. I really appreciate that tip. Did not realize how good that was. I've used it on things in the past, just for what it's used for, which is I put it in water and use it to clean my floors and stuff like that. That's what I've been mostly using it for. So all of a sudden I remembered because I was gonna get my lemon oil, and then I'm like, wait, no, Barbara said I could use the cleaner concentrate on a stain. I'm gonna go do that. So I saved my sheet. Yay!
Yay.
So happy.
Uh, you remember Farah that's on my downline? She
Mhm.
signed another one. She signed another one up. She's got two now.
Okay. Did she sign them up or did I?
Well, she's got two people under her. I don't know if she did or somebody else did.
Oh, I might have put them there. I'm trying to build her out because she did seem like she was really interested in building.
She dropped her LRP though.
Yeah, I saw that and I was surprised because that means she also lost the traction she'd gotten. Because when you drop your LRP, of course,
Mm,
then
yeah.
you lose, the percentage that you'd worked your way up to. So it's kind of disappointed in that, but who knows what's going on? And maybe if you can reach out to her and find out and let her know. I'm actively working on building out her team. And then Melissa, because she has 3 people under her, if she's really
Yes.
not interested at all, I
Hmm.
suddenly remembered we can transfer people into that spot.
Okay. Or,
So I
yeah.
can look for somebody to transfer in. The only requirements is if you transfer somebody, they have to have joined with a 100 PV order, and that's to protect
Mhm.
any uplines that might be affected by you
Right.
changing position, right? So that's something I was just looking at today, and I was figuring out maybe I should get some of these people out of there that are just sitting because I don't know what to do with them. They because I put people under her, and so she's just sitting there kind of in the way. You'd rather have somebody there that's going to benefit from that
Mhm.
and order, because when they order, then those are worth 3% to you instead of 2%, right?
Put them under me then.
Well, under you, they're only worth 2%. You want them farther down. If they're not
Oh, I
ordering
want.
regularly, you want them farther down. So
Oh, okay. Hmm.
guys, I know, we're going to talk about Ylang Ylang in a minute here, but when you are, putting people in position, keep in mind what they're going to do as much as you can know, right? Because we can't read their minds or anything like that. But when you have a wholesale count, unless they're going to order 100 PV a month and be on your top line and get you your Power 3 bonus, you want to move them farther down. They have more value to you, especially those sporadic orders. I get people that order once every few months, whatever. If they're going to be sporadic, I want them as far down as I can up to level 7, because that's where I get the most money off of them. But the people in between have to be buying. So if somebody doesn't buy, they have something called dynamic compression. So if somebody doesn't buy their 100 PV, then everybody under them compresses up one level because they didn't buy. So anybody who's buying the 100 PV forces people down further and gets you more money on those people that are lower down.
Farah did call me last night. She left a message while we were having the meeting, and it got too late. I couldn't call her back because she's good for about a 90 to 2 hour phone call.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a tough one. She does talk a lot, but that's
Hmm.
good. She's trying
Yeah.
to learn, and I know that the accent's a little bit hard, but we can work
It
around
is.
that. We're gonna have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
people with different accents, right? So
Mhm.
just educate her as much as we can. Yeah, it was really unfortunate that she dropped her LRP, and she may have had personal reasons for doing that. I don't know. Sometimes money becomes an issue, a struggle, and people just
I
can't.
think so.
And they don't realize
And we hope it
just get
there.
one item. Just that one
Mhm.
item keeps you
Yeah.
at the levels you've gained. but we'll see what happens. So hopefully with, people under her, okay, hopefully with people under her, she'll start getting kind of motivated because she'll see some money coming in when she does order.
And
Okay,
we've
so
all
I'm
been
going to
there,
head
so.
on over here to start talking about Ylang Ylang now. So what I want to do is I want to go back to the kind of format I had before where we discuss either an oil or a condition. And the next condition I might discuss is the autoimmune disorders again, only because there's that new autoimmune summit. I don't know if you guys are going to that, but every day they have a new video. These are super long. They're like an hour and 40 minutes each. But they have these nice long videos talking about autoimmune disease, which I find very fascinating to kind of really understand what is going on in our bodies. Because one of the things about essential oils, it's kind of just a global thing, is that essential oils are great. They're nature's chemicals and they can do a lot of things to our bodies. But if we don't know what's going on in our body, if we don't understand the dynamics behind it, it makes it harder to treat it. Because we need to understand. That's why headaches are so hard to understand, right? Because we really don't know what is the root cause of that headache. We know general causes, we know some things that cause headaches, but because we don't really know what caused that headache, we don't know what's going on in our body, we don't know what we need to fix. Do we need to dilate or expand the blood vessels? Do we have a pinched nerve that's just referring pain to our head, right? We don't know. So all we can do is kind of guess and throw an oil at it and try to figure out if that will solve it, knowing which oils are great to soothe, various discomforts that we have in our body, and kind of learn that way. And then some of it's trial and error. And then sometimes it changes. Sometimes your body chemistry changes and that oil that worked so wonderfully for you for years all of a sudden doesn't work, or something might work that didn't used to work, or we discover new combinations of oils that sometimes give us some better relief than in the past, because sometimes they work together synergistically and kind of boost the chemical attributes of each oil. So there's lots of different things that affect our use, right? So I'm going to start out with talking about Ylang Ylang. One of the things that people don't understand is that is a really good one during pregnancy. So there's a few top oils during pregnancy, and I'm going to discuss this a little bit because, we're going to meet a lot of people who are pregnant, right? And we're going to want to be able to help them as much as we can. So the beneficial essential oils for pregnancy include frankincense, geranium, ginger, lavender, lemon, orange, peppermint, Roman chamomile, sandalwood, and Ylang Ylang. So today we're going to discuss Ylang Ylang, right? So, and then later on I will go through a list of oils that are generally not recommended during pregnancy. And when they say generally not recommended, they're not saying, if you have a little bit of that oil, it's like going to do something bad to you. It's not like that. But you want to, avoid using it unless you need to. I mean, sometimes we know that an oil is great for us and we use it a lot. And we can continue to use that, maybe use it in lower quantities when we're pregnant, just recognizing that there might be some issues, and pay attention to our bodies because that tells us the best stuff, right? So some of the things that you might have discomfort with during pregnancy is anxiety. That's common, obviously. And so one of the things they recommend is adding 5 drops of Ylang Ylang or lavender oil. So you can use either one, but some people, if they're using lavender for a lot of other things, maybe you don't want to use lavender for like everything, because then you're getting awful lot of lavender, and maybe you want to mix it up a little bit. But add 5 drops of lavender or Ylang Ylang to a warm bath, or you can diffuse 5 drops of lavender or orange oil. So the Ylang Ylang is recommended for the bath mostly. And they did say 5 drops, which is a little bit much. Don't do that with most oils. That will be bad. Don't do it with cinnamon or wintergreen or, I don't know, even lavender, 5 drops. I don't know. If it's a hot enough bath, that 5 drops really, I can feel it. So I don't know if you want to go that strong. So keep in mind, heat activates the oils. It makes them stronger. So if you're prone to taking hot baths, reduce your oil usage in the tub, right? Another one is diffusing the 5 drops of lavender or Ylang Ylang is also good for high blood pressure. So sometimes, people will have problems with high blood pressure, either, during pregnancy or other times, but that can help your body with the high blood pressure. And we don't want to say it lowers your blood pressure because we don't know that it's going to do that. That would be a medical thing, but it is good for people that have high blood pressure. Also really good for people who have trouble sleeping. So you can diffuse, again, lavender with Roman chamomile or Ylang Ylang before bed. Or you can apply 1 or 2 drops to the soles of the feet, perhaps in a carrier oil, right? So try those different combinations. One of the ones I use right now, I like Roman chamomile and Ylang Ylang together. I think Ylang Ylang is pretty strong by itself. I like to team it down with something else. I'm not a real big fan of lavender, so I don't tend to use it very much in my diffuser, although I get a lot of bug bites and scratches and cuts and things, so I do tend to use it a lot topically. So I am exposed to a lot of lavender because of that. But those, lavender and Ylang Ylang, you see they kind of go hand in hand together. They work really well together, and they're often recommended together. Then some of the other things that we want to remember with Ylang Ylang is, when we use essential oils during breastfeeding. So here's breastfeeding after the baby's born, right? And, sometimes you got, sleepless nights, you got breastfeeding issues. Those happen a lot. And so essential oils can, give them stress relief and some support. So commonly used essential oils while you're breastfeeding is basil, clary sage, fennel, lavender, myrrh, orange, Roman chamomile, and Ylang Ylang. Peppermint is also recommended while you're breastfeeding. However, you don't want to use a lot of peppermint when you're breastfeeding, and you don't want to put them on your nipples because the baby does not like the taste of peppermint. And if you get too much peppermint in your breast milk, then they won't want to nurse because of the taste. So you do want to avoid overuse of it. A lot of people still use it for head tension because it seems to work really well. And so we want to get rid of that, obviously. But you want to make sure that you don't get it on your breast, and make sure you don't touch your baby within about 20 minutes after you've applied it and gotten it maybe on your hands or your body, because for about 20 minutes, it's still pretty strong. And if it touches your baby's eyes, it will hurt. Okay, so you want to be very careful when you're using peppermint with babies. So some of the things that we have for cracked nipples, that's a really common problem that people have after they give birth and they're breastfeeding. They say to dilute 2 to 3 drops of lavender or Ylang Ylang with coconut oil and apply it to the nipples after breastfeeding. And one of the things you want to remember is whatever you apply to your breasts when you're breastfeeding a baby, make sure you get all the oil off before you breastfeed again. So if you're not going to wait, a couple hours and it's still going to be on your skin, maybe a little bit, then go ahead and wipe it off. Use some carrier oil and really make sure it's off your breasts before you nurse again. If you're having trouble with tender breasts, another very common problem, you can combine lavender, Roman chamomile, and Ylang Ylang with coconut oil. Warm it up in the mixture up in your hands and gently massage onto the breast. So it kind of looks like this. When I do it, I don't like to always use the fractionated coconut oil from doTERRA because it's expensive. I do like to use the organic raw coconut oil I can get at Costco because it's cheaper. So that, of course, is not a liquid. Well, it's not a liquid 6 months of the year in San Diego. The other 6 months, it's pretty much a liquid. So it may be harder at certain times of year in the winter or something like that. So I will just take a little bit, scoop it into my hands, kind of rub it around in my hands like this. It practically turns into liquid just from the heat in my hand. Then I apply the essential oils, rub it around some more, and then you can just put it on wherever you want on your body. So that's a really good way to do it, so you don't have to make a pre-mixture and you don't have to use a liquid oil. Of course, you can also, make your own. If you want to have it ready to go and you're using it a lot and you find this easier, you can just get a bottle or something and put together a liquid carrier oil, coconut oil, almond oil, jojoba, whatever, and then mix the essential oils with that. Keeping in mind, usually when you're doing something like that, you want your dilution to be about 2%. So if you're thinking 2 drops of essential oil per 100 drops of carrier oil, and there is a chart to figure out exactly what that is, because nobody wants to sit there and wait for 100 drops of carrier oil to come out. There is a chart that I've posted several times on the Facebook page, and if you want it, let me know, and I'll make sure you get a hold of that again. It came through Dr. Zielinski's program. He had a chart for us all to look at dilution rates. Okay, so then we have infants, right? So they're breastfeeding and they're getting older and they're infants. And we want to remember, infants are just tiny humans. They're tiny little us, right? Same compounds that are present in the essential oils that benefit us are going to benefit them too. But the difference is that they're tiny. The average adult weighs 180 pounds. Really? Wow. Okay. Well, the average, I'm so far below average. Boy, I'm such an underachiever. The average adult weighs 180 pounds. The average infant weighs in at about 7.5 pounds. So because of that, and because their skin's not mature, essential oils, when you use them with an infant, is going to look a lot different than it does for us, right? And kind of think about it this way. If you've ever put essential oils in maybe your armpits, or maybe down your crotch a little bit, or maybe near the butt crack there, those are sensitive areas of our body. And even by the eyes, that's what their whole body is like. It's sensitive. So you want to be really careful how you expose them to oils. So when you are doing with infants under 3 months of age, diffusing is always the best. If you do need to use them topically, they should be diluted with a carrier oil, heavily diluted, and applied to their back, abdomen, or the soles of the feet. So like if they're having colic, right? If they've got colicky symptoms and they're maybe have a stomach ache and they're feeling discomfort and they're irritated from that, you obviously want to apply something to their abdomen like Digestin, but you're going to want to dilute that. And there are some reasons that you would put certain oils on their back. A lot of times we run oils along the spine, so it gets into the system. And then the soles of the feet is always the safest area, because even if it's a little bit strong, that's still going to be an area of the body that won't really cause them a lot of discomfort from the essential oils if they are too strong. One of the things you always want to remember, when we're born, we could be allergic to anything. We just don't know. We don't know how we are all different, right? So when you are introducing essential oils to a baby, do them one at a time. Don't start mixing and doing that stuff until you've tried out each oil individually on them and gauge the reactions, because you want to make sure that you know what oils work best with them. And this is a great time to do it because there's so little other things in their life. You control everything. So this is a time that you can take to figure out what oils work best with that baby when they're nice and young. And that way you'll know as they get older what oils their body seems to tolerate the best, which oils have a great effect on them. So just look for if they have any skin irritations, if they have any rashes, itching, if they have any respiratory issues. Same thing you would do with food as you introduce foods. Just keep a track of that. That way you know what works best for them. And so some of the things you want to make sure is, if there's any concern, always check with the doctor, right? Always use a high quality oil. We use doTERRA, so we aren't worried about that. Use sparingly, a drop or two at a time, and dilute it a lot before you apply it. Okay. And when you're pregnant, of course, look at how you respond to that oil as well, because during pregnancy you have a whole different set of hormones, and you may react to something that you've never reacted to before. A lot of people during pregnancy experience things that they would never have experienced otherwise. So you want to keep track of that while you're pregnant. And a lot of those issues, resolve after you have the baby, because your hormone levels will shift, and they shift after you stop nursing a baby too. So all these different things cause hormone shifts in our body, and so oils will affect you differently. Some of the things that they don't recommend during pregnancy. And again, I say this with kind of like, this is the current research right now. They don't really recommend these during pregnancy. Would I avoid them entirely? Probably not, because some of these oils I really like to use just because I eat them or love them. But I would definitely be cautious about using these, especially during the latter part of pregnancy. Because a lot of them, cinnamon, clove, rosemary, and clary sage, can all cause contractions, especially later in the pregnancy. Now, if you are pushing being overdue, maybe you want to take those oils and see if it'll help stimulate those contractions, right? So you've got to remember when you are using that, because it will have some effect on it. Hyssop, which we don't carry but is in some of the blends, exhibits abortifacient qualities. So that one you might want to avoid during pregnancy, just because it has that. So, again, it's like, would it just cause that? No, but let's say you're predisposed to that, it could. If you're already predisposed to that kind of problem, then it could. So maybe something to avoid. Fennel encourages estrogen production. Now, that being said, great when you get older. Add fennel into your repertoire, because your estrogen levels are decreasing. That's how we get to experience all the wrinkling and stuff we experience, right? So that would be great for that, but you don't want to have that extra estrogen while you're pregnant. And then birch and wintergreen, and those contain methyl salicylate. And if you don't know what that is, it is actually, it's the same ingredient in aspirin, I believe. And that can cause allergic reactions. And those are not oils we ever ingest. Just because it has that in it, although, people will think you're fine taking aspirin when you're pregnant. I would rather take an oil given the choice. But anyways, those are things to kind of just remember. A lot of people, if they're really worried, they will just avoid them. and be on the safe side, right? Okay. Again, just less is more, especially when you're pregnant. You don't know how you're going to react to things. Don't overdo the oils. I actually had a friend who went to convention with me, and we had a great experience because she went up in a car. She drove up to convention from San Diego, and she is in her 60s, and her legs got really swollen because she was sitting in a car for 9 hours, right? And so when we got there, we asked around at what we could use, and they said use lemongrass. And so we used lemongrass on her legs, and it worked great. And she was really happy. And then we went to convention. And at convention, since you haven't been, what they have is they have a whole room where they have different tables that have all the oils out there for display for you to try and use. So we all just go out there and we're trying all the oils, we're smelling them, some people are eating them. She decided she wanted to taste all the oils in 1 hour. Not a good idea. You cannot do that. You don't want to use that many oils all at once. That just throws your body into a total tailspin. So you do want to be careful about dosage, and you do want to be careful about overdoing the oils. There's no reason that you need to solve 20 problems all at once. There's no reason to consume 20 oils in an hour even. And I'm thinking back to the table, what they had, there was probably about 100 oils there between that and the blends and everything. I mean, that was just way too much, and consuming them all even. So definitely be aware of that. Let's see. And now I want to talk, let me see, about a little bit about Ylang Ylang. They pronounce it Ylang Ylang at the convention. I kind of like that, the way they pronounce that, because it sounds cool. Ylang Ylang, doesn't that sound cute? It does sound cute. So here is on the screen, I don't know if you can all see the screen, I don't know who's on the phone, but on the screen we have the Ylang Ylang. This is what I got from the Essential Oil Institute, and this was my training to become a certified essential oil coach. This is one of the things that we learned in some of our training materials. So Ylang Ylang is distilled from the flower petals of the large tropical tree, and it means flower of flowers. And it was given that name because of its sweet floral aroma, and it's considered a natural kind of like antidepressant and antiseptic and antispasmodic. It has a positive effect on immune health, on blood flow, on emotions, which makes it a natural remedy for disorders affecting the endocrine, cardiovascular, reproductive, and digestive systems. So each oil has different areas of the body that it targets, right? And that's what we're trying to learn, is what areas of the body will be targeted by certain oils. What oils can I use for various issues that I might have going on in my body, right? So in Oriental therapies, Ylang Ylang has a calming effect on the heart. And that's primarily what they use it for in the Oriental therapies. So let me see. I want to go a little bit into, you can see the compounds here I've got up on the screen. So you can see what chemical family it's in. It's in the esters and sesquiterpenes. So that's kind of, technical jargon. But as we learn the oils one by one, I'll give you this information. And if you feel like kind of memorizing it, I mean, some of these things are good to know just because we're trying to learn so much, about the chemical properties of the essential oils, that you probably want to start learning those. Its primary compounds are germacrine D and B-caryophyllene. And it is known to be hormone balancing. It's a sweet addition to women's perfume. It may help control high blood pressure, so you want to kind of play with that. Don't go off blood meds or any blood pressure meds or anything like that, but you might want to check with a doctor if you can use that and see if it'll help with the controlling of that. And it can be very sedating and calming. So, that's why we see a lot of people that want to use it at night. In a human study, they found that it decreased depressive episodes. It decreased stress when used aromatically. It caused a significant decrease of blood pressure. The participants were more calm and relaxed than subjects in the control group. So that's a nice little study. It kind of showed some of it. Another study showed that it significantly decreased systolic and diastolic blood pressure when used in an investigation involving 29 men. It decreased heart rate and had sedating effects when inhaled. So this is a small study. It's not, medical literature would not use a study like this. It's way too small for them to actually use and have any value, but it does kind of open our eyes as to its possibilities. Okay, so we are going to then look at the Now look at some of the different systems. Before we go into that, I do want to, I have something here that I learned when I learn each oil. They give me the Super 7. So these are the Super 7 Ylang Ylang uses. So these are the things you really want to know really well, because you want to just kind of narrow it down. If you don't want to learn the chemistry and all that stuff, and you just want to learn the jargon that you can share with other people or use for yourself when you're trying to use these oils, this is what you want to know. It helps balance blood pressure. Okay, it's one of the most helpful essential oils for controlling blood pressure and preventing heart arrhythmia. Dilute it, apply 1 drop topically over the heart, or add 2 drops to a cup of water or warm tea. So you can take it internally, obviously. It's good for skin health. So when it's applied to the skin, it helps fight signs of aging. It may even help avoid the development of skin cancer cells. So there are some studies, looking at that right now, including melanoma. So this is something that, there's current studies out there. We'll see what the studies, long-term studies show us with this. And the way you use it there is combine 2 drops with equal parts of coconut or jojoba oil and apply it topically to the area of concern twice daily. So when it says equal parts, basically, 2 drops of essential oil with only 2 drops of carrier oil. That's a really high, what's the word I'm looking for? Concentration, high concentration. And that you would put on something on your skin. So if you feel like you might have something that could turn into cancer, maybe get out the Ylang Ylang, start using it. Go to your doctor, of course, make sure, because we want to make sure if it is cancer that you know that. But do try to do something yourself as well, just in case the doctor can't do everything, right? It is also great for mood and energy lifting. So it works directly on the olfactory system of the brain. So when you inhale it, it has an immediate positive effect on your mood, acts like a mild natural mental health booster. So you would combine 3 to 5 drops with a carrier oil and just massage it onto the temples and the back of the neck. Ylang Ylang also helps reduce cramps, tension, and stress associated with PMS. Just combine 2 drops of Ylang Ylang and 2 drops of lavender oil and apply it topically to the back of the neck and lower abdomen. Ylang Ylang also helps in quieting negative emotions, including anger, low self-esteem, and jealousy. You can diffuse it, inhale it directly from the bottle to help just wash away that frustration, right? Inhaling it can have an immediate positive effects on self-confidence, creating feelings of empowerment, encourage greater confidence and optimism. Just inhale it directly. You can diffuse it, apply it to your wrist, maybe the back of your neck, somewhere where you're going to be able to inhale it. And then here's the fun one, natural aphrodisiac. So Ylang Ylang has been shown to act like a natural impotence remedy and help increase the libido of both men and women, boosts energy, creates feelings of relaxation. You can diffuse it or apply it topically to the temples, wrists, or back of the neck. Okay, so you can play with some of those and see how how Ylang Ylang works with you. So I do want to talk a little bit about the endocrine system. This is the hormone system. So let me scroll down here and see if I can find the hormone system, because that's the one that Ylang Ylang is directly involved with. So I try to pick the ones that make sense. Oh no, it's not on this. Is it? Endocrine. Yep, endocrine system. Okay. So we know what the endocrine system is. It's made up of the glands that secrete the body's different hormones, right? Regulates all of our processes in the body, including our metabolism, development of our brain and nervous system, sleep, reproductive system function, and more. And in general, a gland acts as a filter for the body by selecting and removing certain material. So that's the endocrine gland we've heard about, right? The gland then processes the material, discharges the final product for use elsewhere in the body. And although all the hormones circulate throughout the entire body, each hormone is directed to certain organs and tissues. So certain organs, aid in the endocrine system, including the kidneys, the heart, the liver, and the gonads, if you have those. These organs have secondary hormone secreting functions, right? The pituitary gland is a lump of tissue about the size of a pea. It's connected to the interior portion of the hypothalamus of the brain. So you've heard about the pituitary gland in our head. I think everybody probably kind of understands that, right? And it's surrounded by blood vessels that carry the hormones it secretes and releases them throughout the body. And then the pineal gland is also found in the brain as part of the thalamus. And that gland produces the hormone melatonin. And what do we know about melatonin? That's what helps to regulate the sleep cycle. So we are learning about these glands specifically and the hormone levels because when we have an imbalance in that system, we suffer the effects of it, right? So one of the things that you want to look at is, what are you trying to do with these oils? So let's see how they benefit them. One is hormone imbalance. When you have hormone imbalance, you want to use clary sage, clove, and ylang ylang. Those are recommended for hormone imbalance. Infertility, also clary sage, geranium, melissa, cypress, chamomile, and ylang ylang. These are all pretty expensive oils, really. So when you're using those, obviously try to use them sparingly. It's kind of expensive to use those. But, infertility is expensive if you're trying to have babies, because a lot of people go to the doctor and try to solve it that way. A lot of people don't have success, or other people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just trying to have a baby. And so it would be great if they could work with essential oils and really work with them and get to the point where they are going to be fertile again, so that they can have their own babies and not have to pay out all that money. Money's much better spent on that baby, in my opinion. So I think, also depression. Let's go a little bit by depression. So ylang ylang acts as a mild sedative. It lowers the stress response, such as an increased heartbeat, right, and high blood pressure. So, a lot of times our body does things, and when our body does things, our brain responds as to what that is. Like if your body does something, and let's say you're exercising, right, and you're working really hard, you're exercising, and then your body sends signals to the brain of you're getting tired, you're getting fatigued, lactic acid is released. So we've got all these different things going on in our body. And that's why a lot of times just inhaling the oils, the chemicals in the oils can kind of it's almost like tricking our brain into sending a different signal and calming down what's going on, trying to bring us back into homeostasis and make us feel balanced. And we know that, depression is a huge problem right now. We've got about 14, almost 15 million American adults that suffer with severe depression. And those can, affect everything, your daily activities. People that are depressed tend to, sit around, they tend to gain weight, they feel helpless, they feel sad, they, have no sex drive. A lot of them, will eat, or some people just don't eat at all, they're very extreme on their eating. Feeling helpless, just not interested in common activities. And all of those, all the factors that contribute to those, to the onset of depression, things like genetics, changes in your hormone levels, medical conditions, stress, grief, a difficult life, things that go on, all these things can make somebody, exhibit the signs of depression. And then antidepressant medications have those serious side effects that also can include, if you ever see the commercials, it always cracks me up, because it's like, they've got this great antidepressant and side effects might be suicidal thoughts, weight gain, personality changes. And I'm like sitting there going, so why does anybody take the drug? I don't get it, because it just seems like the drug might be worse than what you're trying to do with that drug, right? So some of the things to invigorate yourself when start feeling a little bit depressed is just rub a drop each of bergamot, lavender, and ylang ylang into your hands, and then do the cup in your mouth and nose and breathe it slowly in. And you can also rub it on your feet and your stomach if you'd like, but just inhaling that and getting that immediate relief from that. I think that is some of the best things to go through here as far as ylang ylang. Are there any questions about ylang ylang, and any maybe comments on if you've used it, what have you used it for, and what did you find?
Since you can take it internally, does it taste okay, or should you take it in a capsule?
It tastes okay. I mean, I think it tastes okay, not great. I would use it without a capsule because I'm just too lazy to put things in a capsule. So certain oils I always put in a capsule, cinnamon, cloves, oregano, because they will hurt. But ylang ylang is something that you can take. If you take it directly, I would have a water chaser right there. Like, I would make sure that you take some water right afterwards. And, one of the things I found, like a drop of oregano in a spoonful of honey, I can take that. In a spoonful of honey, it really makes the oils really palatable. So a lot of my oils I take in a spoonful of honey, because I know raw honey is really good for me anyway. So I use a spoonful of honey for most of my oils, because I, again, find that easier. And I tend to be lazy I've tried making veggie caps, and I'm such a klutz. I can't even get it in the, I can't see very well, you guys, and I don't have depth perception. I've never had it. So I get a veggie cap out, and I'm trying to drip an oil in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea if it's in the bottle until it starts dripping down my finger. So I waste a lot of oils that way. So I like to avoid putting it in a veggie cap where possible, and I found all kinds of other solutions that I can use instead, and honey is one of those that works really well for me. But yeah, you can, even with the hot oils, putting them in a spoonful of honey, makes them so that you can take them. But, has anybody here actually used the Ylang Ylang? You guys used it at all? Anybody smelled it?
How often would you use it then, like for your blood pressure? Would you do 1 drop a day or more times a day?
Well, one of the things to remember is essential oils, when they enter your body, through the olfactory system, most of the oils are out of your body within 2 hours. Some may be 3. I'm going to guess that Ylang Ylang is a little bit on the higher side just because of the density of the oil. Whereas things like frankincense, lavender only stays in your body for 90 minutes. So if you always want it in your system, then you're going to want to do it every 2 to 3 hours. You can take it. But gauge your own response, because like everything, we all metabolize things differently. So gauge your response and what happens. And if you have if you're suffering with high blood pressure, you probably have a monitor. You can actually monitor the effects. And you can discuss it with your doctor and say, hey, I'm doing this to try to help with my blood pressure. And maybe your doctor will say, oh, okay, well, maybe we can reduce your meds a little bit and just take you on a tapering down, and then use the oil regularly and see if you can still maintain the lower blood pressure between the two of them, and maybe even get eventually off of them completely. It's just, that's something to discuss with your doctor. And you should, if you're using essential oils, these are powerful. I mean, I know a lot of people think it's just fun and goofing around with them, and they can be. But these are powerful, and if you're using them for a serious condition, discuss it with your doctor. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them you're trying this. Some doctors will be like, oh, no, don't do that, because they don't understand it. Hopefully they'll be honest and say, yeah, I don't know anything about essential oils. You can say, well, I'm doing research. I'd like to give that a shot. So, what can I safely do as far as tapering down maybe a little bit, and then you check it frequently to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. Make sure you don't put yourself in danger.
Thanks.
Okay. So nobody else here ever tried the Ylang Ylang? Have you ever smelled it? Anybody?
It's in my cart, but I don't actually own it yet.
Oh, okay. So it's a strong oil as far as a strong smell. It's not a hot oil, but I would say it's a very, very strong, very unique odor. You will be able to know, if you smell Ylang Ylang, you'll know what it smells like. And if you smell it again, you'll know what it is. It's kind of like, I like to think of it as, some of the ones I think are really strong, like Ylang Ylang Patchouli, another one that's super strong to me, has a really strong smell to it. So yeah, if you're not trying it, it sounds like it has a lot of different things it can do, which is nice. It affects the different systems of the body. And one of the things I like about it is the balancing of hormones, because I would say that is probably our number one problem. We just have a lot of problems with our hormone. Keeping those hormones in balance is a really important thing, right? Because when you're balanced, you feel good. So we do want to keep those hormones in balance. And I've tried a little bit on my skincare, but I have tried it at night. I've been using it regularly at night, because it does tend to have more of a relaxing effect on me than lavender does. So it might be worthwhile if you're having trouble winding down. I kind of like the idea of putting something else in my bathtub besides just lavender. I was kind of getting bored of that. So it would be really neat to add something to my bath time repertoire before bed, because I have a hard time winding down. So any other questions from you? Any questions at all? So I want to keep these meetings kind of short, especially the product knowledge meetings, because I want you to absorb what you learned. I don't want to go into a bunch of different things, because then it gets really hard for us to remember what we're talking about, right? And you start confusing the oils, like, wait, was that Ylang Ylang that did that? Or was that other one that did that? So I really want you just to absorb what you've learned. And I invite all of you to go look at the Ylang Ylang video that doTERRA has. So I won't do it here, but if you just go to doTERRA.com and search for Ylang Ylang, there's a video at the bottom, and make sure I can access it that way, because doTERRA does put out videos of a lot of these products, and sometimes a video really helps solidify what you've just learned, when you're trying to learn the different products. Let me see if it's on here. Down at the, I don't know if you've noticed this, but if you go into the product, and the way I do it, I'm super lazy. So the way I do it is I just type in doTERRA Ylang Ylang, and that way it takes me right to that item. I don't have to go into doTERRA.com and go look for it. I just put that in as a search. It took me right to it as the first thing. And yeah, there's a video, and it is a 5-minute video. So do you want to watch it right now, or do you guys want to watch it on your own time?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I'll go ahead and play it here. And, you're always welcome to leave whenever you want. Of course, these things are just for you. But can you use the slides? What slides? Oh, the things I showed you? Yeah, I can share some of that with you. It came from my course, which is kind of private, but a lot of the slides I make available to you publicly because they're kind of basic. So if you just tell me what slides you want, if there was some that you liked, and I'll just go ahead and screenshot those and give those to you so that you can use those to share with others. Like I did like that one where it kind of just showed Ylang, just kind of showed what it does. That would be
that's the one I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Use that one. Yeah, that's a really great one. So that's probably the one I figured that was the one you were looking at. So I'll go ahead and play this video. It's only 5 minutes, and then we'll be done. We'll wrap it up. Okay. So can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It does look really beautiful. Did you guys catch where Ylang Ylang is from? That's Emily, right?
Experience we had as we went into Madagascar.
This is Emily Wright.
She worked with our partners on the ground.
Is one of the execs.
To be able to see their operation, to see how they harvest these beautiful blossoms, to see their distillation process. But more importantly, we really wanted to go in to see how we could best support their efforts, how we could expand the Ylang Ylang harvest for the future to make sure we continue to have this beautiful essential oil. Wait until they're nice and yellow. If you look inside here, you can see the pink inside the blossom here. That's where the essential oil is contained. As I'm able to go into these developing countries and really connect with the women who are harvesting the blossoms, who are harvesting the crop, and to be able to see the effort that goes into this process, my heart just goes out to them because I know that they are doing everything they possibly can to provide for their families. But what an amazing thing for us to be able to give them that hope, to know that their circumstance can change. Pick these flowers from beginning at 5 o'clock in the morning. When they finish, they fill their basket, they dump them on the table, and you can see that each one of them write their name so that when they come to be weighed, they know how much flowers that they picked, and that's logged every day. And then at the end of the month, they're compensated for all of the flowers that they picked that month.
Boti ako matodang fahela let para tadim lek full dimyam lek dimampulo lek izjud zamilam kurangam do fahela ramazai.
Harvesting Ylang Ylang is incredibly labor intensive, from collecting the flowers from the different parts of the trees at different times during the harvest season. All of those need to be collected, batched, and brought to the distillery within a 24-hour time period. So it requires a lot of collective effort among lots of different harvesters.
Tsy afaka mifanarasera amin'ny volo avy amin'ny lambato na afaka mivoatra ohatran'ny karazana ambatomboaka aby mivokatra miangaka tsara ny faripiana tsiraikaraiky satria amin'izao fotoana zao zany hita mivoatra ny fiainana tena mivoatra amity ka ohatran'ny nakazy raha ohatra tsy afaka nampianatra zanako izy io misy araiky sortant lomoaly nagnano soutenance tamy université de Tamatave araiky maro lahy mianadahy Antananarivo Afaka baka nagnano polisy afaka niposiny zegny nono ty raha ohatra tsy ty zay tsy afaka nanatanteraka izy.
What I noticed most about Madagascar is the people have joy. They have so little as far as material means, but yet they have joy. And we really, as a culture, need to go back to those things that really matter. Those are relationships. Those are serving one another and showing love. And I left Madagascar a changed person because of what I learned from those people.
So one of the things, I don't know if you noticed this in the video, what did you guys notice that was unusual in that video? Anybody?
Seems like maybe the children work. Do the children also help?
Yep, the
Hey
children.
everybody, Bonnie Donahue here.
Oops, sorry.
I'm really excited to show that person.
Why is this still going
And
here?
would you be open to having a
Sorry about that. Ooh, that looks like a pretty interesting video too. Okay. You know, you're watching one video and then another catches your eye and then another, and you could be watching videos all night long. That happens sometimes. Yeah, some of the things that you notice, I think, is, yeah, the children are very involved, and it's not child labor. You can see the children are happy. They also, one of the things that doTERRA does that I think is really awesome, and you heard the guy talk about it because his children obviously, you know, got an education and were able to go on to college and join the police force, right? So that's because what happens is doTERRA goes in there and they build schools for the kids. And generally the kids will spend most of their time in the school and they're getting an education. So that's something that doTERRA believes very strongly in, going into these third world countries and getting the kids their education, making sure that they can attend school, because a lot of people around the world, even though they're in impoverished countries, they want education because they know education is going to get them into a better place, right, to earn more money. The other thing that doTERRA does is they do not buy the farms from these people, because then they would take ownership of them. Instead, they go in and they offer them higher wages. They prepay them a lot of times for their work, or pay them daily so that they're, you know, so they always have money coming in. They pay them more, you know, more than they're supposed to, more than they would have to. They develop this relationship with the farms that they work with. So instead of taking over ownership, they let the farmers keep the farms. These farms have been in their family for generations. They don't want to give up their farms. You know, other companies, essential oil companies, they go in there, they want to buy the farms. That's what they want to do. They want to take ownership of the farm, and doTERRA does not believe in that. They believe in empowering these people to, you know, have a better circumstance, to have a better life. So I think you could see that in the video. Do the children help out? Yes, I always see, like, you know, Emily Wright's been there, and I'm hoping to get to go to a trip soon too. So once you're silver, you can get into the lottery to get to go on one of these trips with doTERRA execs. So it's a really fun experience to go to one of these countries and really be hands-on and help. And Emily Wright was right there. I mean, she goes on all their sourcing trips. She goes and meets all these different people, you know, in third world countries. And, you know, we go to third world countries as tourists. We're not going to a third world country. We're staying in a resort, right? We don't realize what it's like when you really are out there, because these aren't people that live in the cities. These are people that live way out in the country. And their only way of doing life, of being alive and getting what they need, is to work on whatever the raw materials they have are. And for a lot of them, it's going to be plants, right? So various plants for various things. And I don't know if you heard in the video, they did say they collect them from various farms. So it looks like there's more than one farmer around there that's involved. There's many different families involved in this collecting. One of the other things that I noticed is, did you see any electricity? Did you see how they weighed the stuff? That wasn't a scale. They don't have to bring electricity in, which is really great. With steam distillation, you don't need electricity. And we don't want to interrupt their country, because how are you going to get, first of all, how are you going to get electricity out to the middle of nowhere, right? It's just not, you know, nobody's going to do it. It's cost prohibitive, and it's not their way of life. They don't want electricity out there. I mean, look what electricity has done to us. We're using computers. They were using a chalkboard to tally things up. Did you see that? I mean, that's how they do things there. It's what we would call extremely old-fashioned, right?
Primitive.
But it works for them, and they get, you know, they get out of poverty by doTERRA coming in and making this available to them. So they really hands-on. So, learning about the way that they collect these oils is really important, because some of the questions I get, this is one I get all the time. Are your oils seed to seal? What they're referring to is Young Living has a seed to seal program where some of their oils, it's not even very many of them, but some of their oils are seed to seal, where Young Living owns the farm. And doTERRA doesn't want to do that. They don't want to own any of these farms. That's not what they're good at. Farmers that have been doing this forever are good at it. They know what they're doing. doTERRA just says, this is what we want. We want it this clean, or we want it, this pure, whatever, right? And one of the things that you notice when they're coming from places like this is, how many of those kids are wearing perfume or chemicals?
None.
Chemicals in their environment. It looks like it's a really pristine place. It's very rustic, but there's nothing there. You're not going to have the chemicals. You're not going to have electromagnetic fields. You're not going to have all these things that we're worried about in our culture, right? So that gives us a nice pure oil. And when they ship them to doTERRA, like they distill them there, they're steam distilled. When they come to doTERRA, and you'll see this if you get a chance to go to doTERRA and see what they do, they come in these giant drums. And I mean, several of me would fit in one of those drums. They're really big drums. And, a big drum of oil, and they test them. They test for purity. Then they bottle them, and then test them again during the bottling process, and then they test them again after they're bottled to make sure they haven't been contaminated in any way. And the people that do this at doTERRA, they're in a sealed room, and they have surgical stuff on, the masks, the gloves, the whole surgical garb. I mean, they're like surgeons. They're dressed like surgeons when they're in there bottling the oils, because they don't want anything to get into the oils that we're consuming, right? So, I mean, you will never see anything that pure in any of our food production, sad to say, but you do find it in the doTERRA essential oils. So that's really good, because we don't need to introduce more contaminants into our body, right? So hopefully that was a little bit eye-opening for you. Any questions about that, or any comments?
Yeah, it makes you feel good, though, that you're affiliated with a company that helps other people that are such destitute. I mean, look how they live, over in that country. We have so much. They have nothing compared to what we have.
Yep.
And we're helping
and that's why their microloan program is so effective. Mm-hmm. I mean, so little money, $20, $50 microloan to these people can change their life. It can make all the difference. And for us, what is it? A few cups of coffee. It's nothing to us. And so we don't realize how other people are. Now, are they suffering? I don't know. I think they're happy. I think that they are very strong in family. I think they're very happy. I think they're ecstatic that doTERRA comes in, because it gives them more choices in life. And everybody wants more choices. The parents that live there, they want their kids to be able to have an education, to learn and have options in life. And that way they can change their life. It doesn't, and it's not necessarily better, because they might enter our culture and then they have to deal with all this mess that we're dealing with, right, in our culture. But it's just a different way of life. And I love that doTERRA has that. Yeah, I do love the way that they do this. And part of it is just their upbringing. You got to remember, the 7 founders of doTERRA, they're Mormons. They have been brought up in the church. To them, these are missions. They are just out there to help the world. And that's what their whole goal in creating this business was to get out there and help the world. They wanted to change and revolutionize our healthcare system. That is their goal. I'll be really curious when they finish building the health clinic that they built in Utah, because that'll be amazing to bring together Western and Western and Eastern medicine. We're putting them together, natural and synthetic medicines, and giving everybody the best of both options, because we need to have options, right? Sometimes one doesn't work, you've got to go with the other one. Sometimes natural things don't work and you need to go to the doctor and get medicine. Sometimes the medicines aren't working and you need to figure out what essential oils you can use. We need to figure out what is going to be best for us. So we have lots of options out there. Anyway, any other questions now?
Do they have a healthcare plan? Do they have a healthcare plan we can buy into?
I know, I was asking the same thing, because I hope that they are thinking about it, because a lot of people have asked, and I asked the same thing. I would love to get on their healthcare plan. And I think that, right now we're all in the healthcare plan called, we get to use essential oils and solve a lot of our own problems very inexpensively. That's a great healthcare plan. But it'll be better when we have all the benefits of what they can offer. They do have one for their employees that work in Utah. So they are going to be able to benefit from this clinic first. So the clinic they're building is for their employees, and they'll get to the benefits of that. And then they're putting clinics around the world. and then we get to benefit from that. And I'll be curious, how that all that's funded. It might all be funded by doTERRA, or who knows what's going to go on there. That'll be very interesting to see. Because that would be great. And I keep asking them if they, us being advocates, if there's any way they could have a healthcare plan that we could all opt into, because my husband lost his job. And so we lost our healthcare coverage. We're doing COBRA, which is $2,000 a month.
Wow.
And insane, but we need it because we have a lot of kids. So it's very frustrating. And, he'll get another health plan as he gets another job probably, but it would be nice to, at some point he'll quit his job, because I'm growing in doTERRA a lot, and there'll be a point where he quits his job. And then, we have no healthcare anymore. We have no healthcare plan. So it'll be nice if doTERRA has a big healthcare plan that we could, maybe get for cheaper. That would be a good plan for us. Knowing that people that use essential oils utilize the doctor a lot less than people who don't use essential oils. So maybe that would be a selling point to get us a better pricing.
But I'm paying, you said you're paying $2,000 a month. I'm paying $1,500 a month for two people, my husband and myself, no kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's out of hand. I mean, you see why people who don't have money don't get healthcare. They can't afford it. I know they mandated, I don't know if every state, but they mandated in California at least that we all have, I guess we did throughout the whole country, with Obamacare, we all had to opt in. I know a lot of people that didn't because they physically can't afford it.
Yeah.
$200-$300 a month. It's like they're making $1,000 a month. They can't afford that.
Well, I'm working, but I'm working now without a paycheck because my paycheck goes to pay the health insurance.
Yeah.
So
that's insane because there's a lot of people that don't make, we're not making enough money to cover all these other expenses because healthcare has really gotten out of hand. So hopefully we'll have some options. And hey, if you want to, you are all welcome to email doTERRA, service@doTERRA.com, and tell them if you want something different. I mean, that is open to you to make your voice heard, because if enough people are emailing doTERRA about things, they will do something. They will make changes. That's how we make changes, right?
What was that email again? I want to write that down.
Service@doTERRA.com.
What was the first part?
Service. SERVICE. Service@doTERRA.com.
Okay.
So that is an email you can send them if you just don't know where to send it. They'll tell you if you have to send it somewhere different. But, tell them what you're looking for and maybe suggest that, hey, it'd be great if doTERRA had a healthcare plan for their active consultants, us builders especially, that we would have, that we could opt into a healthcare plan that was going to be lower cost than our current healthcare plan, right? That would cover our hospitals and our doctors if we should need those. So that would be a great thing. Other emails that are really helpful, product support@doTERRA.com. If you ever have a question about a product, and I know I've done this for Joanne, I sent over, emails asking about products. So if you have a question about products or something that's used in the product and you want to find out exactly what it is, or you have a question about one of the products, whatever, email product support@doTERRA.com. So they're all pretty easy to do. They keep their emails pretty simple, so that we know what we're doing, right? So we got service, we got product support, and then they got a bunch of other emails that if you ever need something that's very specific, they've got a member protection department, they've got a compliance department, they've got all these different departments. If you ever need to reach out to them, I have all those emails addresses that you can reach out to. But yeah, service@doTERRA.com would be your main one. Anytime you're having any kind of issue or you have a question or a suggestion.
I sent the one you told us to about if someone signs up for a wholesale customer under us, how they should, how I have in that one ad that I do, click the little circle. I sent that. Did they ever get back to you on that? Remember you said we should all write them?
They wouldn't get back to me, but they would look at it to make changes. So a lot of people are sending those in because it's not just our team who's having this issue. It's a lot of teams. That being said, we do have somebody on our team, I think it was Angela, got a $2,000 kit sign up from somebody she doesn't know from her ad. So let's just hope that it sticks and it isn't taken away, because some of those end up being fraud. They have a lot of problems with fraud, especially up in Canada. They get a lot of people, doing fraudulent orders. A lot of it's coming out of Quebec. They usually have Oriental names, so it may disappear. So we'll just cross our fingers and hope, because our hope is that we are reaching out to people and that people are taking action. And we know it takes a long time. So no kidding, it really does. Like I said, it took me 6 months of Facebook stuff before I got any signups from Facebook that I knew were from Facebook. So it does take time. And I did get one from Instagram, even though I hardly ever post on Instagram. So, it's just sometimes it's just reaching the right person at the right time. So don't give up what you're doing and always brainstorm about other ways. In the meantime, I'll keep growing out your teams as well and keep putting people under you as I have been doing to help get you, boost you and get you started and get you going. So that'll keep happening, and eventually you'll get one that'll be good. And we look at, like Barbara, I know we got you 2 builders and neither one of them panned out really. They're not really doing anything. So I'll just keep putting builders there until we find one that sticks, right? And
it makes you want to, you get motivated, because like I said, with the email I got yesterday, those messages I told you about, that just made me so much more determined to, okay, I'm going to do better. It really gave me a kick,
Yep.
So.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of business to be had out there. Canada's exploding right now with doTERRA. So make sure that everybody make sure that you're appealing to both U.S. and Canada, because there's a very strong growing doTERRA market in Canada too. Don't limit yourself. We should all be doing U.S. and Canada because everything's the same. 100 LRP to get your paycheck, 125 PV to get your free oil of the month by the 15th. The 200 PV specials, sometimes they have different prizes. Like this month they got Immortel, we got the On Guard stuff, but it was still the 200 PV limit. So, a lot of that stuff is really the same. And so it makes it really easy for us to go after both markets, right?
How do you go after the market in Canada if you're not familiar with that?
It's the same as us. So the only difference is they pay $42 Canadian for their sign-up fee instead of $35, and they have some different kits, different prices stuff because it's in Canadian dollars. But you can, if you want to market to Canada too, just go into doTERRA. You look up doTERRA Canada forms, and there you will get the wholesale price list and the enrollment kit options for Canada. And if you're in Canada, you can do the same thing for US, obviously. Go into doTERRA US forms, and you can see what's available in the US, because you don't want to limit yourself. We've got an entire continent to work with, the English-speaking part of this continent. And so we want to open ourselves and make us available to both. So you might even put in your stuff on Facebook, servicing US and Canada. So people realize, there's no reason not to. I mean, I'm very familiar with the Canadian market, so I can certainly help you. And a lot of our people are in Canada. So, we got some people. I got a new person in Mexico. He's actually somebody that lives with us, and he's developing the Mexican market now.
Nice.
So got that going. I've got some people in Europe, in Ireland, and London, UK area, and then some in Australia. None in New Zealand yet, though, but I'll keep working on it. So there's a lot of people that speak English out there. That is going to make it really easy for us to get out there in those markets. They're opening up a new market in Guatemala. So Guatemala's on June 7th. They open up the ability to do Guatemala. Of course, you have to speak Spanish to do that market. So I'm giving that to Miguel to do with his, because he has a Spanish website, of course, and we all have English websites. So we really need to address the English market. But there's a lot of countries that speak English, so it's pretty easy, right? Okay, so get up there and keep up the good work. Myra, I love your stuff. I keep seeing your videos and your wonderful ads. I'm so jealous. You're doing such a great job.
I wish I knew half what she knew. They're very inspiring. I just keep saying, darn, I wish I knew how to do that.
Yeah, well, some of it is just looking at it over and over again. And then she did teach us how to do it on iMovie on her phone, so that she posted that. So we can all just look at it over and over. I'm going to have my daughter help me with that. I figured her brain will wrap around it a little bit better than my old brain. So we'll see how that works, right? And see if I can learn something new after all. So just keep plugging away. And keep in mind, it took me a year to sign up with doTERRA. And I am a very strong builder. I have signed up over 1,100 people. Cricket I'm 1,100 of her 1,400. So she's only done 300 on her own. And then she got lucky and got me, who has made one team really strong for her. And you get 3 of me and you're golden, right? So you just need to keep plugging away out there. What I've noticed is the people that take the longest to sign up are usually your better people, because they've thought about it. They've given it some thought. So a lot of times we'll see that. And we don't know what's going on in the background. Some people may have been thinking about it for a long time, and then they finally just contact me out of the blue and say, hey, yeah, I want to sign up. And they may have been thinking about doTERRA or doing essential oils or something like that for a long time. They may have even been learning first. Some people learn and then decide to join. So you just don't know, and you don't know when somebody's ready, when they're really ready to make that change in their life and do this as a business rather than just like a wholesale customer. Of course, both are good, but since we don't know when they're ready, we just keep inviting them to follow us, keep giving them good information, keep sharing with them, because that's how we're going to get them involved, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Myra.